Hey, what's going on guys? Tyler Wilson here, and I'm really excited to welcome you to my first installment of Mindcation. Today is lesson number 1, storyboarding, and more specifically, how to create a high-end storyboard even when you're not the strongest illustrator. Now, I gotta tell you, this is not a hard-hitting tutorial on illustration, but I will show you some quick and easy steps into how to create a high-quality storyboard to present to clients, potential film investors, hired crew, or just to have for your own personal satisfaction. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. First off, a little history. Storyboards started way back when Walt Disney used them for his movie Steamboat Willie in the 1920s. And from there, Walt started using storyboards for all of his animated films, and soon after, his live-action teams adopted storyboards and started using them for all their feature-length films. And the technique worked so well that it quickly became a Hollywood standard, and almost every studio and director were using them, not only in Hollywood, but around the world. So needless to say, storyboards work, and they're an amazing tool to have in your filmmaking toolkit. Let's chat a little bit about approaching storyboards in a do-it-yourself method. First, you'll need a few things. A good-sized piece of foam core board, a laptop or a spare flat screen monitor, a smartphone with a camera, or any camera for that matter, some printing paper, a couple number 2 pencils, a variety of colored pencils, a handful of push pins, some invisible tape, some scissors, and a black Sharpie. Now, once you've gathered up all the supplies, it's time to get started. And the first thing you want to do is sit down and draw up a rough draft of your storyboard sequence. This is a time to experiment with your desired framing and compositions. Look to your script of your shoot and visually draw out your sequence as you imagine it in your mind. Don't get hung up on the details in the drawings, just let your pencil go and do your thing. You'll be able to tackle the details later in the process. And, for the purpose of this lesson, I'm using the example of a driving sequence from a mock car commercial for my storyboard. Alright, so after you have your rough storyboard drawn, go out and stage your subject, or subjects, and use your smartphone or camera to take pictures of the subject. Follow your rough draft of your storyboard and frame up your shots with your camera the best you can to match the rough draft storyboard. But also leave room for experimentation and creativity, because you're sure to see things on location that you didn't imagine prior to your shoot. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is ideally when you're shooting these photos, you'd want to use the same lenses, aspect ratios, and focal lengths that you plan to shoot your final video with. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm using my iPhone, which later on I'll be able to rescale and frame, but we'll get to that. When you're taking your storyboard photos, keep in mind subject movement and camera movement, and make sure you cover all perspectives and angles that you plan on illustrating in your storyboard. Alright, so once you've fully covered your rough draft storyboard with photos and given yourself plenty of time for experimentation, it's time to bring your camera back to home base and offload your photos.